So we're doing Periscope from this?
Most likely going to do Periscope. Periscope is a little awkward, as you know. So what I'm going to do is basically
log into Periscope and then we'll just go.
Yeah, we'll keep talking until we find people who are responding. We've no response.
Huh?
No response. What happens? What?
If no response, what happens?
We haven't went there
Look,
yet.
I downloaded a whole bunch of comments on Facebook.
Just in case.
Sent by my friend Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Mubarak.
Back up, huh?
Yes, we have a lot of comments we're going to read. He made sure, he really made sure that there's nothing missing. Most of them are just Eid Mubaraks, so a bunch of shout-outs, I guess.
A lot of Eid Mubaraks.
Definitely. And this phone is definitely...
hot today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little warm.
This phone is definitely...
A bit cooked, I think.
Okay, so we're going to have to find out. I don't know if we're live right now or not, so...
We're live, I think. We're live.
What?
I'm guessing we're live. I'm guessing we're live.
Could you do me a favor? Could you check?
You got the earpiece?
What, can I go?
You got the earpiece?
They're not going to respond to the earpiece. I was sitting there with... they didn't respond, remember? So if you can, brother.
I'm pretty sure we're live, but I'll check.
Sorry to bother you. Meanwhile, I will be checking Periscope because it's not working. Nothing is working right now. I'll try not to freak out. So how was your... Well, this is a perfect scene for social hour. Everyone's on their phone.
Everybody's got their...
How was your Hajj experience apart from Arafat? We spoke about Arafat. Let's talk about something else until...
Jamarat was amazing.
Jamarat.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So what do you want to title this?
I had some old pictures from the 1950s of the Jamarat.
Wow.
And so when I looked at the Hajj picture, right, and you see the 1950s, this like round, this cubed structure, and then you see this thing, and then you go into this big, huge stadium with these big, it was like enormous.
Exactly.
MashaAllah.
It's brilliant, really. My father actually was I told you, working with Saudi television.
Yeah.
But before I was born, I think back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he told us stories about even back in the 80s, like more recently, right? It was nothing compared to what it is today.
Yeah.
And same with Masjid al-Haram itself.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of places.
It's amazing the planning and the building of the infrastructure of through King Khalid, King Fahad. These two kings really did a lot of building, and then also King Abdullah. May Allah have mercy upon him.
I mean, one of my favorites actually was King Abdullah.
Yeah.
Favorites of
some
all
of the things that he did were.
So we're live?
Like I told you, we're live from like ages ago.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys. Hi. Okay, so we're going to start with today's social media hour. And we're going to start basically with Periscope, and we're going to read some comments. But while I'm setting everything up, how about you continue telling us a little bit about your experiences in Jamarat. You were telling me you had a photo from the 50s?
Yeah, mashallah.
Wow.
Yeah, so before we went to the Jamarat, somebody had posted on Facebook a photo from the 1958 of the Jamarat. And it's like this little small box, like this big, right? Little stone, right? With a round circle around it. And so when you get to the Jamarat and you see like this stadium, like the stone like grew. It's amazing.
If you were live, look at how beautiful the studio looks.
MashaAllah.
And we already have one okay too. Wow, a lot of barakah this time.
MashaAllah.
Welcome, Sarah. Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak to everybody.
Yes, I think Sarah was with us the last time we were on.
Yes, she was.
MashaAllah.
Correct. And
So we have repeat customers.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, we do. Let's just put
MashaAllah.
this up here. That's how Periscope works. So we're going to be talking to the people on Periscope and talking to you guys at the same time. And probably one of the only shows out there.
Eid Mubarak.
Brothers,
Everybody
Eid Mubarak. Oh, we have a new
MashaAllah.
one. Nice. We have new people too.
Yes.
So you're not in the picture. I'm going to include you. Let's just
You're
tilt
going to have to tilt it.
A little
Maybe
bit,
if you tilt it the other way.
There you go. Oh, you mean sideways?
Yeah.
It always comes out weird though on the phones.
Really?
I really, repeat customers, LOL. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just kind of
Yeah, you're going to have
squeeze
to
in
lean
there.
back. There you go.
This is pretty chill.
Yeah.
So
Chill Periscope. MashaAllah.
we love brothers. Oh, cool. Brothers are the best, you know. They're always there for you.
Yeah. MashaAllah.
So one of the only shows out there that has Periscope, you know, the whole show.
MashaAllah.
Because other people, they can't handle it. It just gets too awkward for them. But we're just,
Yeah.
mashallah, we're just so smooth, so cool. We don't care. We don't care.
Yeah.
I just
How
want
you
to
gonna
thank
read
you
the
all for
comments
helping my
sideways?
sister decide to take her shahada. So
Okay.
she did. Okay, that's amazing. May Allah reward all of you. I want to repeat, just to make sure we're not getting into misunderstanding. Is your sister Muslim now? I mean, Yes, we lit. Come on, man. We love you, brothers. Allah yuwaffiqkum wa yubarik fi juhudikum. Ameen. Ashkuruki. Ashkuruk. Steady. Have a seat, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam.
Eid Mubarak. Guys, we're going to have munshideen that are going to rock the studio.
Munshid 1.
Come on, I can call myself a munshid. Munshidain. Yeah, come on, I'll just do it. Ya lali, ya lali, ya lali, ya lali.
You also do.
No, that's lame. Come on.
Embarrassed me on live
I'm gonna send this to all the kids you went to high school with. I'm
I
gonna
don't
say
know this guy.
you're my teacher, man.
No, I'm.
You taught me how to sing. So anyway, yes, she is Muslim now. Mabruk, Allahu Akbar. Yes, now we can officially celebrate. So guys,
Is this the
one I mentioned that I thought was a misunderstanding, but it's not a misunderstanding.
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, sister. Special thanks, first of all, we thank Allah Azza wa Jal for guiding whomsoever He wills.
Yes.
Right? And then we thank Dr. Jamal Omar. Omar Jamal, I keep screwing up your name.
Jamal Omar.
Jamal Omar, okay. Jazakallah khairah. And
Dr. J.
Dr. J.
And then also too, you got to give some credit to the sister because
Yes.
she did a lot of the dawah and talking to her sister, mashallah,
us questions.
and asking us questions and bring her on the show.
So we can possibly say this is the first in history, wallahu a'lam, but one of the first times someone accepted Islam through Periscope.
Who knows?
But come on, stop messing with me. Come on.
Doesn't really matter.
Come on, look, the directors are telling us we need a publicity sound.
It's publicity, huh? Wa alaikum
Walaikum
salam.
assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Eid Mubarak. We're just, yes, please.
Please take
What's a
some.
nice one? This one?
You found
Please
the
keep doing social hour. It's my favorite
You
one.
want one?
We have someone whose
I
favorite
would
one is
love
social hour.
some.
Allahu Akbar.
It's
Thank you.
cheap,
Thank
but
you.
it's-
Jazakallah khairan.
How many viewers now?
2 hours ago,
Three,
somebody
mashallah.
said he was going to
Three
bring me in
separate
there.
viewers. Like,
Don't forget. You know what? It's absent-minded.
Ouch,
Everyone's
ah,
not
good
really
one.
caring about anything else.
Mashallah.
Listen there?
no, I agree they should do this every day.
No, let's try.
We're the coolest
How
ones here.
you
We
gonna-
live.
how you going to fit everyone in there?
No, we can't. No, you know what we'll do?
No.
No, it's the company.
You get a wide camera lens.
So what are we discussing? What's being discussed here?
Okay, so we're discussing, we actually had, alhamdulillah, last night, 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago.
Time is just like, a huge blob.
I heard you had a shahada.
Yes,
Mashallah,
we thought it was a mistake, and we're getting a lot of hearts. Thanks for the hearts.
Qadar. You don't know who Allah's going to guide and when they're going to guide them.
And through what?
Subhanallah.
I want to drink the
Yeah,
water.
me too, I wanted to.
Messing up the camera.
Others, brothers, make dua for my sister and my family has been giving her a hard time. Okay, inshallah. We'll make dua. Can you tell us about hard times and how to deal with that?
No. Okay, so this is actually one of the talks I gave earlier because we had 150 new Filipino Muslims that came and did their Hajj this year. MashaAllah, may Allah make it mabrur and accept it from all of us,
Ameen,
inshallah. Anyhow, we were talking about this because they have a lot of family members that are non-Muslim that sometimes give them a hard time. So one of the advices that I've given them is that, for one, always treat your parents with respect
Yes.
and kindness.
Regardless of how they.
No matter how they look.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to kind of step back and look at it from, what if you were in their shoes?
Exactly.
What if you were your mother and your father? What do they see on CNN, Fox News? They see this image of Islam that is false.
Exactly right.
So they're basing their fear as a parent based off of what they see. So it's your job, especially as a new Muslim, to go ahead and be patient with this and go ahead and show them that this is a good thing that this is happening.
Yeah, deconstructing that false image, the false stereotype. Slowly by your character, you're wearing away at it. It's breaking down.
Very good.
To the point, it reminds me of one of my neighbors. They said, in the media we're always reading about these Muslims and you like this and you like this and like this. Yes, but we read this and then we see you people. We read this and then we see you people. He said, and the two just don't match up.
MashaAllah.
But Dr. Jam, I have a question.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the things that makes the parents the most upset. And I'm just asking a question. Maybe you can just.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
It's a question.
Okay, we're getting there?
It's a trick question.
Okay.
It's a statement, a long statement with a question mark at the end.
Okay.
MashaAllah.
What happens with a lot of converts is, or reverts, I mean, call it whatever you want to call it. They revert to Islam and then they change their names and they change their appearance and then they start wearing very foreign clothing. And then the parents are like, what happened to my daughter? What happened to my son?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Can we interrupt you, inshallah?
Yeah, you may
You
interrupt.
interrupted my very important question. It's okay. It's okay. I forgive you, Sheikh. I forgive you.
It's good to be forgiven.
It was a very important question. I'd like you to answer it.
تفضل تفضل.
What about the camera?
Okay, we got a comment. I have advised her, but more tips is welcome. So our sister's saying she needs more tips.
More tips.
Can I be
You finish your statement. Yeah,
But
finish
okay,
your
this
statement.
question is gold.
Okay, let me ask it again. Let me ask
Okay.
maybe the Mashaykh can answer. I was saying basically that with reverts, one of the biggest problems they face from their parents, the shock and everything that comes from the parents, is, I believe, mainly because when they convert, they're told from the mosques usually, you have to change your name. So Bob becomes Zaid, for example, right? Changes his name. And then what happens is the clothing and the attire, and the parents don't even recognize their own children after a while. So they become very, very foreign, and they get more upset. Now, what changes are required as Muslims,
And which aren't.
and which aren't?
Excellent.
طيب, is this directed to
Anyone.
I think anyone.
Anyone. Just open.
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين ونصلي ونسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبعد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. Some might think that I'm mentioning the takbir in the wrong time, as is the case known that these are the days where the takbir would be the takbir limited after Salat al-Fariḍah, or after the mandatory prayer. However, the real understanding is that takbir mutlaq doesn't end until the entirety of the 13 days. And this doesn't prevent the concept of the limited entering into the
No time.
unlimited.
Both.
So both are actually applied here
Overlap.
MashaAllah.
with the manifestation of the limited salah.
Brilliant.
After mentioning this, inshallah, a blessed Eid, inshallah, to all you brothers.
Ameen, ameen.
May Allah reward us all for these efforts that are being done for the sake of Allah, inshallah.
Sorry
And
to
an
interrupt you on
Eid-
Periscope later as well. So
Right, okay.
don't care.
And,
This is our first joke, mashallah. Excellent. Jazakallah khair.
and an Eid Mubarak to all the viewers, all those who are watching, all those who are participating or sharing this experience with us, at least virtually, so to speak, on the live show with Huda. May Allah reward the people who are doing the efforts behind the scene also. In regards, Akhi, to the names, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not encourage the changing of a name unless it had the negative connotation of some kind of faulty or false meaning.
Or negative meaning.
Or negative meaning. If it had, of course, something that contradicts the concept of Tawheed, like Abdul Muttalib, which was the name of his grandfather, even though there is an exception in this case for the Prophet's grandfather being someone who lived before Islam. However, the slave of al-Muttalib means really that some thought because of his dark complexion that he was the slave, the one who came with it, he was a slave of al-Muttalib. The meaning is that the name isn't really that acceptable. Today people call Abdul Nabi, the slave of the Prophet. This is of course in direct contradiction to the concept of the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal. Slavery is to Allah, none other than Allah. And if this is the case, then the name has to be changed. If this is the case, that the name gives a connotation or denotes shirk in any way, then it should be changed to a name that denotes something that is beautiful, specifically in the concept of Tawheed. Abdullah and Abdul Rahman being the most beautiful and beloved names to Allah Azza wa Jal, as the sound hadith, أحب الأسماء إلى الله عبد الله وعبد الرحمن وأصدقها حارث ومرة. And the most truthful amongst names is Harith, Harith wa Hammam. I'm sorry, Harith wa Hammam. Harith meaning someone who is always in a state of doing and active. Hammam is someone who's always in concern of matters that are beneficial. So if the name doesn't have this negative connotation, if it doesn't have any faulty meaning, one shouldn't really concern themselves of changing the name. Keep the name that was given to you by your father. There is an incident that I would cite, and I'd close with this inshallah. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, rahimahullah, the follower of his time, he was known to have a grandfather in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had the name Hazan. And Hazan means sadness or sorrow or grief, something of this meaning. And the Prophet tried to change the name of his grandfather, and his grandfather refused. He said, I will not change a name that was given to me by my father. So Sa'id ibn Musayyib, recognizing the fault or the problem of rejecting this suggestion by the Prophet, he said, La zal al-hazanu fina, that sadness has been a quality or something that we have a characteristic in our family since that time. For refusing that the Prophet's advice was something beneficial for him. So in short, akhi, if the name doesn't have a foul meaning, it doesn't contradict the concept of Tawheed, then leave and keep the name that was given to you. If you prefer a name that is more attached to the meanings of Islamic meaning, then this is a plus and inshallah an act of worship, and one would be rewarded for it on the Day of Judgment by the will of Allah.
I think Sheikh, also, if you look at the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, Umar, radiallahu anhu, before he embraced Islam, what was his name? Umar.
Yes.
Khalid was Khalid.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? They were just, someone could argue, they're just Arabic names. You know what I mean?
So I'm sorry I have to interrupt because the name of the show is still Social Hour, and it is Eid. So in Eid we're going to be very crazy as we can be.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm joking. No, it's okay.
I'm boring
so
you guys.
no, not at all, not at all. This question was lit. I loved it. So our first comment here on Periscope was القرآن نزل باللغة العربية لماذا تتكلمون بالإنجليزية?
I'll let you answer that.
The Quran was revealed in Arabic. How come we're speaking in English? So someone responded. That's the brilliant thing about Periscope. Someone responded in Arabic. They said, look, Al-Huda, the Huda TV channel is actually in the English language for dawah purposes to reach out to audiences who, let's just say, aren't that fluent in Semitic languages. So, tafadhal.
MashaAllah. Bismillah. So, I actually had this question from some of the Filipino converts that we had earlier today. Why can't I recite the Quran in English or in their language? Yeah. So, I explained to him that the Quran was revealed in Arabic. It came over a period of 23 years, and in it are instructions for mankind. Now, the Arabic of the Quran is not the Arabic of the Arabs. This is a very important point to make. This language actually existed before the Arabs. This is the same language that the angels used to talk with all of the Nabi that came before them. So this language has a certain connotext that is a way of communicating between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and humanity. And he did this through his angels, usually Angel Jibril alayhi salatu salam. Now, that being said, Huda TV is an English language channel, okay, that is talking about Islamic values and principles and that to an audience that is usually native English speakers or people that understand the English language. Now, you'll see many of the people when they're on this station will use ayats of Quran and they'll say it in Arabic and then they'll translate it into English.
Yes.
So for our Arab speakers that are out there, maybe they're watching this and that, so you guys also get some of the Arabic too, inshallah.
Definitely. Jazakallah khair. Okay, we just got another comment from a brother from Turkey. That's what's so beautiful about Periscope. So they wrote a whole essay in Turkish.
MashaAllah.
The most I know is Nesilson, iyim, teşekkür ederim. That's all I know. So that's all I could say, if you know
They're
more.
showing gratitude and thanks, mashallah.
In hearts, yeah.
Well,
Yes.
tashakkuri is clear. Tashakkuri is
Teşekkür ederim, yeah.
it's clear. It's
Exactly.
kind of close to shukran. or
Close,
shukriya.
mashallah.
Definitely.
And then you get another comment.
Okay,
Yes.
now he's
Can
saying,
we
iyim,
introduce-
teşekkür ederim, kardeşim. Okay, thank you.
Can we introduce our good doctor?
Oh yes, why not?
guest?
Why not?
yeah.
And
We
by
have
the way,
with us,
we're also live on that camera. So.
yeah.
Let me
We have with us Dr. Mushabbab Al-Asiri.
MashaAllah.
He's a doctor physician in King Fahad Hospital in Riyadh.
MashaAllah.
He's the head, I believe, of medical affairs in the hospital, in the city. It's called actually the City of King Fahd, city for medical affairs. And he's with us today, and we're hoping to hear from him something, inshallah, that will benefit us
Hayakallah, ya
and
Sheikh.
the
Someone just
listeners
said
and viewers.
Hayakallah.
Yeah.
Walaikum salam.
Assalam wa rahmatullah.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be here today with you and with your audience, and happy Eid for all audience all over the world. And alhamdulillah, we are here today, and I'm blessed and I'm happy that I'm accompanying Dr. Jamal today to the studio. And then by chance that they will introduce you to be among you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for having me.
A few comments just while you're discussing the names and the change. A lot of stories that we got in Sira, it is like snapshot, but we didn't know what before it. There's a lot of things before that we haven't seen. The change take time. Names probably is the end. The change from inside.
That's true.
I think you didn't come Muslim today and then you like to change your father and mother and family and country and everything. That's too much. Yeah. And especially changing for the parent, that is very difficult. Yeah. You see with Prophet Abraham, peace upon him. And see one of the best da'iyah in history, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. He introduced the majority of the one being, the Prophet ﷺ say that you're going to the paradise. The majority of them invited by Abu Bakr. But his father, so around 20 years that he didn't come to Islam. So it is not easy. The change from inside, I would say that if the parents see you change from inside, that how you treated your parent, then they will become interested in Islam.
Sure.
Not if you became more tough,
Yes.
more arrogant,
Jazakallah.
just saying that we are Muslim, I'm the one who being guided and you are not.
Yeah.
They will not listen to you. And other things, I'm an old man. So we don't see our children growing. They remain children, whatever they have, whatever degree that they achieve, whatever knowledge they have,
They remain children.
they remain children.
Jameel
So sometimes it is difficult to listen to them unless they add value to the life that you're living. They change the environment, they change the heart. For example, that if you never prepare a cup of tea for your father or your mother, if you do it one time, this is the change that you will see. If you come one night and cover them with a bed sheet that they never saw in somebody who grown in New York or growing somewhere. That
Unheard of.
And if they feel that, this is the real change. If they found somebody brought their shoes and make it ready for them, this is the change that they're looking for. They will see Islam changing you, adding to your value, your behavior, your manners. Then they will listen. If you just talk about names, clothing, you just became that will make them more separated,
Superficial in a sense.
superficial. And by the way, this is the most easy thing to change your name. This is just change the few letters.
Or your clothes.
Or the clothes. It's very simple. They change from inside and take time. Other thing about Arabic, if you look to the history, most of the people who are speaking Arabic nowadays, they are not Arabs. They're not Arabs. They are Romans, some of them the Africans, some of them the Asian, they are from Turk, they're Chinese. But, and always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is full of wisdom. Arabic language, if you don't know Arabic, you will lose a lot in Islam itself. This is the language that if you like to enjoy the Islam, the beauty of Islam, the beauty of Quran, you have to learn it. And we encourage any new Muslim to learn Arabic, to enjoy the Quran. By reading the Quran itself is full of enjoyment itself. So, of course now the Arabic language is not as strong as before, but a lot of things that you lose if you are Muslim and not knowing Arabic. And do like other before, even Turk, they used to know Arabic. Al-Qudat, the judge, the leaders, the caliph, the ulama, they all know Arabic. And it is a simple language for somebody who's reading Quran. It's not difficult.
It was part of the textbooks, Doctor. It was part of the textbooks.
Yes. The old curriculum.
Before Ataturk, it was in the text. I remember watching a documentary where they had this huge multi-million-dollar project they were scanning and texting in all of the Turkish Arabic texts and books, historic books, to translate them into the current Turkish. And a change, a big shift. And that severing also had a direct impact on the quality of their Islam as well. Following, Ataturk reign and so forth, the Islam shifted to something being part of the everyday life, to being part of the secular state, something on the side. So it's really important. That link, that Arabic link, they knew. You break that Arabic link, you sever, that relationship with the Islam.
And this was common, and I'll bring it back to the doctor, but this was common to the attempt to detach Muslims from the teachings of Islam. They begin first and foremost by detaching them from the Arabic language.
The core.
And gradually they start detaching them from the Quran.
And that's why the new generation, we have to teach our kids and the people around us and the new Muslims, push yourself to learn Arabic.
Definitely.
Maybe you don't master it, but the next generation will.
Yeah, beautifully said.
This is very, very important.
And also, Sheikh, there's a book I read, I remember, it was by an Algerian scholar from about 100 years ago, and he was talking about the Ammiya, the colloquial Arabic being spoken in Algeria. And he was explaining how when I believe it was the French, when they came in, they were changing their curriculum and on purpose making them taking them further away from Fusha.
Yes.
So he was actually explaining how it reached a point where Algerian Arabs could not understand the Quran at all.
Yeah.
You know what that means? That means it's a different language.
A conscious deconstruction.
Yeah.
A conscious deconstruction.
So these are really great discussions so far. I love them, and I'm so sorry. I hate doing
Let
this.
them roll then. Let them roll. Don't cut us off.
Yeah.
It's working.
It's like I'm working on another thing too.
I do. I'm sorry, I do.
Time,
But this is good. I like conflict. I was just mentioning a while ago, we need to have a little bit of... We need
dynamics.
We need dynamics. We need arguing. We need a little bit of images. Actually, there you go.
During
Imagery.
Eid, we need balloons, we need disco lights.
Yeah. No. I think fighting. I think fighting is discussions enough.
I think
Okay.
it's a bit too much today.
This guy on mute right now.
Okay. So now we have يا أخي الشيخ إيش نور ما شاء الله. No, this عمية. Okay, that's fine. I didn't get that.
We don't understand Ammi. That's
Okay, now
Pass
we
it
have
to the doctor.
Turkish.
Maybe the
No,
doctor can read it.
that's
Pass it to the doctor. Maybe he can read it.
Iyim. Okay.
How is someone writing in Turkish understanding us? Are they able to understand?
Usually they don't.
it's
So
part of the
what happens
curriculum.
on Periscope is basically it's an escape for younger people to go to a different country and just talk. So sometimes they don't even know what they're saying, or they don't know what you're saying. It's just a fun way to
Wonderful,
escape.
wonderful.
So let's go over some comments.
Right.
Please.
Sheikh Google, huh?
Yeah, Sheikh
A few comments. Oh, first of all, for the new members here, we had our first Shahada on Periscope with Dr. Omar and with me, alhamdulillah. And we had it about 2 days ago, and it was amazing. It was Sister Sarah. By the way, Sister Sarah also left a comment while we were talking. She said that she changed her name,
MashaAllah.
but her family continues to call her by her old name. Okay. So these are just
the same with myself. I changed my name, and my parents and my brothers and my sister, they still call me the name that they know me as.
Exactly right.
And it's no problem, because that's my name.
Yeah.
exactly.
It'll always be that way.
Exactly.
And
Flexible, it's
Muslim
life,
people
isn't
call
it?
me my Muslim name.
So let's read a few of the comments. I haven't read these before, so it's going to be very dangerous.
No. Exciting.
Well, let's see. I hope they're not nothing too crazy, but let's see. So we have one comment here by Sham Kamal. I follow you on Facebook and watch almost all your video on YouTube because I don't have Huda TV. I also learn and ask Huda Q&A with Sheikh Salah. Everyone loves Sheikh Salah, right? MashaAllah. May Allah bless you all. Thank you so much.
regarding the channel, I've heard that there are some apps on the phones that you can live stream satellite as well.
yeah,
Like
There's
one
a
of
web link as well.
web link as well. That's the YouTube live stream, right?
Yeah.
the YouTube live stream, but also I heard satellite apps.
So people can watch live on the web.
That's
or on their
brilliant.
phones.
Okay, so now we have Sister Haley. She's saying, MashaAllah, Huda TV. Oh, thank you. You come prepared, mashallah. Look, it was charged until, don't blame me this time, seriously.
I'm not.
It was charged until 50%.
50%.
That's not enough to run
I
anything.
wasn't the one. I was like, guys, please get this charged.
Alhamdulillah. Allah provided.
Some Muslims can't take
prepared.
responsibility, and I'm one of them.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm joking. Okay,
May Allah
so
guide us.
does it
May Allah guide us. It doesn't really matter which way. Just say, you plug it in.
So we have Sister Haley said, MashaAllah, Huda TV changed me a lot, and Dr. Jamal Umar raised a good idea in education. May Allah bless you all, and don't forget us in your du'as, especially Muslim people that are in trouble. So, mashallah, let's just talk a little bit about his educational plan, which I think you will love. We all loved, mashallah. Can we touch base on it again, if that's okay, really quickly?
Okay, it was very simple. I'll run the short version instead of the long version we went through. So basically, Africa and the Middle East used to be the hubs of learning in the Golden Age. And people used to come to Africa and they used to come to the Middle East in order to get their knowledge. And there's no reason that we can't return it back to that way. We have many people leaving Africa, leaving Europe, leaving the Middle East and going to the West to learn their education when we have everything that is here already. But what we don't have is people working together to go ahead and create these centers of knowledge that need to be here. So one of the ideas that I had was to start a grassroots movement starting with Northern Africa, because there's a deliberate separation of France from Francophones. And so by them going ahead and doing this by themselves, it would be easy to do a grassroots movement to go ahead and get free schooling for all of the indigenous people there, and also build it upon research principles. So this would become a research-centered school, and then these principles would work with an Islamic education background, and then also working with some of these subjects that are also part of the science, math, technology, and engineering. These are all things that we need as a society to keep on building our societies as we go forward. So basically, this would work in each of the countries, and the indigenous people would actually be the ones that would run and operate it, and it would be overseen and regulated, and accreditation would all be created through this whole system, rather than doing on a regular accreditation system, which is based off of the Western standpoint and principles. And so it'll be based off of a sound curriculum that has a Islamic component also to it, but also has a reaching into many different subjects that deal with medicine, science, technology, math, engineering, and these sort of areas. And then that way we could go ahead and rebuild the great centers of learning that actually existed over here. So instead of the people from over here going over to the United States or going to Canada or going to certain schools in Europe, they could go ahead and have these great schools over here, and then they will end up coming over here looking for the knowledge here, inshallah, bi'idhnillah.
Jazakallah khairan. Very beautiful. We have a quick comment to read here. Samawal says, you're doing the job of prophets by calling to Islam, and what can be greater than that for a Muslim? So I was reading through the comments. This comment struck a chord. So the thing is, he or she, whoever said this, we thank you profoundly, and it reminds me actually of a hadith in which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, وَإِنَّ الْعُلَمَاءَ وَرَثَةُ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ. Indeed, the scholars, obviously, we're not scholars. I'm not a scholar. I can speak for myself. I'm not a scholar. I'm a student of knowledge. But
potential scholarship.
Just student of knowledge. It's still a long trip, inshallah. But as a student of knowledge, and as you know, as on the path of, like you mentioned, on the path of becoming, more educated in Islam, it's an honor that we are actually the inheritors of the prophets, because the prophets never left any money or anything else or any gold or anything. What they left is knowledge. What they left is the spirit, the ruh of Islam, the kulli aspects of Islam.
The hadith that you mentioned, Akhi, the specificity is about the ulama.
Yeah.
Warathatul anbiya. This is specificity given to the scholars. This is true.
Sure.
But the more closer, I think, citing for this specific case is the ayah, where Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين. Who is better in speech than the one who calls to the way of Allah and he or she does good and righteous deeds and says that I am amongst the Muslims. Yes, and Ibn Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah explained this ayah by saying these are awliyaullah, they are the most closest to Allah. هؤلاء هم أصفياء, they are the ones who Allah has chosen. هؤلاء هم شهداء, they are the ones who are testifying on this earth for Allah. So on and so forth, to the end of the many mentionings that he said, in regards to them being those who do the work and the job of the prophets and the messengers after the prophets and the messengers, which is da'wah, calling to the way of Allah. And of course, this is the duty of every Muslim. No Muslim is given any exemption on this ruling. Save the condition is that one has the knowledge of what they're calling to. Having the knowledge to what you're inviting to is a prerequisite. However, every Muslim is required to be amongst the ummah and do the da'wah as possibly as they can.
Jazakallah khair. Eid Mubarak from Maldives. Okay, so we have a new country. Does anyone know where the Maldives is?
Maldives Island.
Island, correct, in the Indian Ocean. Are they closer to India or closer to Africa?
No, Africa. On top of Africa, between Africa and
There
Europe.
you go.
He's like, I'll
He's
tell
very
you,
excited.
geography.
Yeah, very excited. Let's put the camera
That's
on
Dr.
And
Abdullah
mashallah,
from Pittsburgh.
from the Maldives, we have
You're not a
such beautiful,
geographer.
100% Muslims, they said.
You are a geographer?
No, not a geographer, no.
and not just that, but we have some beautiful Quran reciters coming from the Maldives.
Really, like
So they have incredible mastery of the tongue.
That's
They are
amazing.
very, very good.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
What doctor was referring to, this is a lovely idea, marrying the contemporary education with that of Islamic one. I think one thing which is most of the Muslims are not aware of, that I won't be able to cite any example, but most of the current inventions actually are derived from the hard work put in by the Muslims
No.
years ago.
No.
So we are not aware of the hard work and the intellectuals we had in Islam. Whatever we refer to, or we are not told intentionally, or knowledge is not conveyed properly, as a result of which we don't know. That we look at the aeroplanes and we usually refer to Western for that particular thing. But I read somewhere, I won't be able to cite any examples. Most of the modern day inventions, the basics are coming from the mathematicians, Muslim mathematicians, and the people who have put in extra efforts into it.
No. One of the interesting things in this area is when I actually went in to do my undergraduate degree, my master's degree, and my PhD, I started interacting with non-Muslims in their academic disciplines. And I realized that the benefit for Muslims that know these subjects is better than them knowing the subjects. I don't know how many professors I talked to and used Islamic principles in order to engage in conversations with them that actually helped to them benefit in understanding certain principles in science, technology, and math. It was some of the most amazing work that I got doing in the Dawah field is dealing with these intellectuals on their own playing field and using the principles in the Quran and the Sunnah in order to do this. And this is where all of these inventions came from, is because of the beauty and the miracle of the Quran. This is how it happened. And so if we come together and we're able to go ahead and marry the two together, it's going to open up some doors, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, not only for Muslims, but also for the non-Muslims themselves. Humanity on the whole.
Reopen the doors, not just open the doors,
Yeah.
reopen the doors.
Reopen them. There you go.
Many people don't make that link to the history, that it was already open in the past. And like Dr. Jamal was saying before, that's one of his motivations, is to reopen that door.
I have a question, and
By the way, this is the last question, and then we have to go on to the
okay,
next one.
maybe any of you can answer, and I haven't been able to get a good answer. You always hear a Muslim invention. You know what I mean? What exactly does that mean? Like, it sounds like the guy just happened to be a Muslim who invented algebra, let's say. It wasn't a verse in the Quran he took, and you know what I mean? Whereas you don't hear of some guy in America, oh, this is an atheist invention, or this is a Christian invention, or a Jewish invention. Why are Muslims saying a Muslim invention? What does Islam have to do with it? It just happens to be that they were the leaders of education at the time, and he came up with that invention. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you reply to that? Like,
One of the dangers we run into as Muslims with this concept is that we end up holding up the Quran to scientific principles. So what we're saying is that the scientific method and these scientific principles and that are equal to the Quran. This is a very slippery slope. Very slippery slope. And I've seen many Muslims that get into this thing where they want to say Muslims invented this, Muslims invented this. The world owes everything to Muslims, right? So this is the argument that is made very generally, and unfortunately most Muslims are not educated enough in this area in order to defend these positions. What is the truth is that there are many different things inside of the Quran that cannot be explained how a man who could not read or write could understand it that we as modern day human beings are just starting to understand because of these scientific principles based on fact. So what I would like to do is actually switch the focus from the scientific miracles inside of the Quran to the Quran itself.
The base.
Exactly.
Is what proves science right. Because the Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we as Muslims sometimes do this backwards.
Exactly.
We want to take the scientific part to it first and say, okay, 1400 years ago it said here that two bodies of waters, they come together. And we like to use this as our dalil, our evidence to go ahead and argue with non-Muslims.
Islam is proof.
So true.
And then when you come up against somebody that's been highly educated, like a evolutionary biologist and stuff like that, all of a sudden, boom, you're stuck.
Exactly.
You get stuck.
Stuck.
Out of the ballpark.
Yep, you're out of the ballpark, you're out of your league, and you cannot deal with somebody on that level.
Brother Muhammad says, MashaAllah, may Allah bless Huda TV, brains behind Huda TV, and all of the ulama sitting here. So the next segment which I wanted to do here before we, it's time for Salat al-Isha. Jazakallah khairah. Yes, I really love what you said. And quick note on that, by the way, is that when you do it the other way around, you get people who start saying, you know, the theory of evolution is in the Quran.
No.
And you have people who say that.
I know. Well,
that's
I even know someone who,
that's why you
went to study Sharia said that.
Okay.
And he went to study Sharia and he said that. And I said, what are you saying? He says, it's a fact. I said,
So
what are you
here's the
talking
issue.
about?
That's why science doesn't follow the Quran. You follow the Quran. Okay, you do the comment. Inshallah, our next segment will be, just to prepare you guys, interesting or funny or unique stories about Eid that you each had in your
Good.
life. Everyone.
Let's
Everyone
go
has
for
to.
it.
I'm not going to leave you alone, bro.
And halal as well. And halal as well, right? They had halal jokes.
Okay, yes, of course. halal. Well, if you did something wrong, may Allah forgive you. Before, in the past.
Can I do mine now? Because I'm going to leave.
Can we hear? Okay. Can we hear this?
Yes, definitely.
Islam is not only a period of history. Adam was Muslim.
No.
No. So Islam is not only a certain period that we've been described by other nations as just small. Abraham's the one who called us Muslims. That's before Jews and Christians. And all the prophets and others, they are Muslims. And civilization is not belonging to any people, belonging to the human being. It is additive. Whatever a nation did, a new nation comes and add and to add. Nobody can claim that is made by a certain religion or certain people. It is addition. One group, they come and they utilize whatever before and they just add to it. If we just put it as Muslim in a certain period of history, then I think this is not fair. It was also to the people who was before that time. They were also, some of them, they are believer, and if they are believer, they are Muslim. And some of them non-believer, and then also non-believer, they did something good for human beings. I think we have to be, and also Muslim, not racist. Yani the Prophet ﷺ, when there is a new idea came, he will accept it, no matter it came from whoever. Salman al-Farisi, when he asked to trench or a channel, it was taken immediately. And doesn't matter that it was for Persian or Indian or whatever. Islam is so accommodative for any other group and not racist. And also we should not go there with that invented by Muslims. Some of the ulama who were good in science actually are not good Muslims themselves.
That's true. Ahsan, jazakallah.
Some of them that well-known people, and may Allah forgive them, their aqidah was far away from real Islam. Sometimes we are not say that we're not proud of what they believe on. Some other nations, they're more proud of them.
I can think of a few names right now.
I thought of 2-3 names.
No names.
No names, but just the concept.
Yeah, you're right.
And what doctor said.
Yeah, and
We don't want to mention names. We're mentioning. Yeah, he's getting his Eid mood now.
So you're dragging it on now. These are the stories now.
Yes. Stories.
I would like to just contribute one small addition to the
Can the camera
entire
catch you?
conversation.
They can.
yeah, of course, there's 8 cameras here, 8.
Is
I'm
that
scared
at
now.
the end of the day, what we need to understand is that the knowledge comes from Allah.
So,
And at every stage in history,
Beautifully said, yes.
Allah has opened up an area of knowledge for us as human beings and as Muslims in some special way, that we may progress and solve some of our problems. So each one of these inventions or things that has changed humanity, it's a blessing from Allah that Allah has given to us as. But sometimes we attribute this to our own knowledge or our own abilities.
It's true. To be
And
thankful.
that's
to be
actually the mistake that people that don't rely in Allah fall into. They believe that they are the ones that have uncovered this new type of information, new type of knowledge, when Allah is the one that revealed this to them
Like,
and allowed them to
good
discover
point.
this.
Like he's a genius. He's so important that we should give him the Nobel Prize.
Exactly.
It's his genius. It's him. It's
This
him.
is what Allah blames
And Allah created
Qarun
that
with.
person's brain
And
and gave him the capacity to understand that.
Allah, beautiful point, may Allah reward you. And this is consistent with all the revelations prior to the Quran. All mankind who received revelation from Allah Azza wa Jal, they didn't flourish in the knowledge and the sciences until Allah revealed to them the book. When the scripture came to them, then they were open to these new knowledges.
So,
add to
okay, 1 point for him, and then we'll do funny stories or interesting stories.
okay, I want to
Scary stories are allowed too. Yeah, please.
yeah, I
Scary
want to
stories.
add to what my brother Noor has just said, and I back him up 100%.
Good.
The process of saying that Muslim invented this and that, this is a necessary step that we have to go through because it's part of reclaiming our own history.
Sure.
Unfortunately, many Muslims don't know their own history, let alone the non-Muslims. Many of us don't realize the connection, for instance, between the word admiral, the word sofa, the word coffee, the word sugar, to Arabs, to Muslims. And this is the step that we have to go through, to teach not only the Muslims, but also to teach the non-Muslims as well.
Good point, yes.
But in order to succeed, we need to see things in a global, holistic manner. Unless we do so, we're going to fail. Right now, there is a war against the Arabic language. And this war is a deliberate war that is launched against the language because they know Arabic is not the only language. It's not, what is it called? There are thousands of languages out there. If you add one more, it's not going to make a big difference. However, if you attack Arabic, you are also attacking the culture because the culture is embedded in the language. And within the culture is also Islam. So it's like a ladder. You start with the language first, then you move on to the culture, and then you move on to the religion itself. So what is the solution? Again, we have to go back and see things globally and see things. For instance, we talk about education. We cannot isolate education and find an educational solution by itself. We have to include the political, we have to include the economic. It's a whole system. For instance,
It will happen with education. The others will.
if you send 3 students to go to study, one studies English, the other one studies French, the third one studies Arabic. The one that studies English and French, they will get a higher salary than the one who studies Arabic.
That is so true.
Because in Africa, this is how it's done. In fact, you'll be lucky if you have a job with Arabic. Maybe what you can do is teach in the madrasa.
Sad, huh?
You see, but I know a political nomination you will not get because it's part of the system in which the official languages of these African countries are English and French, and that's what the importance is given to, not Arabic.
Sure,
Arabic has been marginalized long time ago.
That's true.
And they want to marginalize everything.
Jazakallah khair for mentioning the
You're
solution.
welcome.
So I'm sorry, I have to cut you
It's
off.
all
I'm so
right.
sorry, because our sheikh has to leave. And
okay.
Can you wait until? Okay, go quickly. 5 minutes. Allah.
No, go ahead.
6 minutes until Ramadan.
We haven't heard from him, so let's give him the whole floor for the
You
next.
mentioned about the relation between Islam and discoveries.
Yeah.
Discoveries.
Yeah.
I don't remember that
Going
in
now, bro.
Islam, we believe that with right intention, it's an act of worship to invent something. And you get rewarded for it. So it's part of our religion. Other religions don't have this. That might be why we say it's a Muslim invention. It's the only religion I could think that makes sense.
Well, the Jews do actually, in their halakha.
Act of worship?
The halakha, yeah, in their book, it's that if you, especially that's why on Shabbat they're so happy that they have so many inventions to avoid the Shabbat. But Ahsan, Jazakallah khair, Islam is very unique in that it encourages ilm in such a way, it encourages knowledge in such a way. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. The first ayah that was revealed was اقرأ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ.
And he mentioned also, Dr. Jamal mentioned, before he was Muslim, he wasn't interested in education at all. Only after when he took his
Yes,
shahada,
made him.
he went to get a PhD. From bachelor's to PhD.
So, barakallahu feekum, I'm sorry I have to cut everybody off, but it's time to hear the most weirdest or scariest for you, please.
We have 5 minutes until the event. I don't know
So
what.
let the sheikh go, because I'm sure his story is...
Well, my story is
باقي
related to
5 دقائق
education.
بعدين خلاص.
So it's really relevant to what's being
Well,
described.
you are
perfect.
getting into the lives of people, man.
Sorry?
With this segment, you are trying to get into the lives of people.
Yeah, it's personal.
That's good, why not?
Isn't it?
If they want to share, they want... you want to hear my story? My crazy story?
You go.
We have 3.5 minutes.
We might have courage to come up with something.
It's your choice. If you want to give the
Yeah, so the sheikh wants to,
story,
so
it's
let the
okay.
sheikh
If you
speak.
don't want to, you're not. It's not forced on.
So Sheikh Juhani, mashallah, from the same tribe of the Imam Masjid al-Haram, Sheikh Abdullah al-Juhani.
He's
Hafidhahullah.
Juhaini, isn't he? Isn't he Juhaini?
Juhani is the same? Is it different?
Juhani, no, Juhani is different from.
You're Juhani?
No, I'm Juhani.
Okay, so you're from the same tribe?
And what is he?
Juhani.
Oh, I was saying Juhaini though for years.
Nah, man. Everyone, yeah, Westerners always say
Good
that.
thing he didn't hear you.
His qira'ah is on fleek.
Yes.
I love it. I'm sorry.
You just create that word?
No.
Add that to the
I've never heard that word in my life.
That's Periscope teenagers. We're trying to... Youth, please come and watch our show.
You're adding new lingo in
A
there.
new way.
No,
to-
it
Innovation in
exists.
language.
Urban Dictionary, check it out.
Okay, I'm gonna
If you
definitely
had
check
teenage
that
kids,
out.
you would know. But you don't.
I'm gonna definitely have to check that one.
Check it out, look it up, and then, you owe me one out of bake.
Okay.
No betting, it's just like,
They don't know what bake is. Now you have to tell them what bake is.
It's like a Saudi KFC.
Yeah, well, they don't know anything about Saudi Arabia. So Sheikhana, please tell us your story, because my
You
director
can't,
is
you
saying
can't
something.
describe it as that, brother. It's completely different to
The
that.
story is never coming back.
Please tell us your story, Sheikh.
3 minutes.
like waiting,
3
come
minutes,
on.
Sheikh. 3 minutes.
You want to go ahead, Akhi, finish your...
No.
3 minutes into the event.
Yeah, it's okay. After Isha, we have a munshid, so I'm going to make an embarrassment of myself and try to sing Ya Lali. And then, no, not me. The munshid is coming, but to warm him up and help him out, inshallah.
He's gonna sing.
طيب, in short, inshallah, it's a reminder within an event or an incident that took place with me during my teaching in some areas. I taught the subjects of Aqidah and Fiqh. And to understand the level of the students, I have to test them. And of course, this test happens after an extensive, maybe 2 to 3 months course on the subject matter, and then I know which level they can be enrolled in. So after explaining some of the concepts of Tawheed and the concept of innate nature and fitrah and so on and so forth.
We have 2 minutes left.
Right. I gave him a written test, and I asked a very simple question. Please explain what is fitrah. So when I received the answers back, one of the answers was, fitrah is our breakfast in the morning.
That's brilliant.
The best and closest one said, fitrah is the celebration after Ramadan.
That's brilliant.
MashaAllah.
We're going to be live from Masjid al-Haram in exactly 1 minute, so you guys will have the opportunity
You
to
just
hear.
said 2 minutes. That was a fast minute, man.
I know it's like
That was very fast. Time flies when you're having fun, bro.
minutes, I don't know.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Periscope's on fast forward. Huh?
Periscope on a fast forward. So, inshallah, enjoy whoever the qari is. Any guesses who it's going to be? I'm guessing Sheikh Salih al-Talib. He's probably going to lead. So,
I don't think so.
who do you think?
I don't even know.
Sheikh Salih al-Talib. Or maybe the cousin or close relative of our Sheikh.
I think during Hajj they have specific imams.
Yeah.
So, who do you think?
I don't know. I don't.
I'm a big fan of Sheikh Salih al-Talib.
No
Let's see.
foretellings here.
No fortune telling.
From me, not from anyone else. More than welcome.
No, this is just like guesswork. We're not telling the future.
Any prophecies?
I don't know. It's not today's anyway.
Yeah, it's not
No, it's definitely not that. We can rule him out.
That's what I guessed. What do I know? Are you thinking, or are you?
No, I don't know.
We have
just
someone
went
who will be
silent.
joining us after the break. I don't know the name.
It's something Arusi, Adusi.
Abdullah Arusi, I think.
Abdullah Arusi. yeah, Abdullah.
So we have a munshid who will be joining us after the break. Rayan Arab also.
Ryan, yeah, he's here.
So
He's
Ryan
hiding.
was coming?
He came back
yeah,
from.
Dr. Rayan Arab will be joining us.
Not
For
from
now,
Jeddah.
please enjoy the tilawah of the Quran. When you listen to the tilawah of the Quran, try to open a mushaf as well and read the English translation.
Translation, exactly, yeah.
Try to do tadabbur because these qurra, when they read, they're
What
all...
does the dabbur mean? What does that mean?
I'm sorry,
You can't
I'm
speak
sorry.
Arabic.
I am sorry. Try to
Contemplate.
contemplate.
Yeah,
Think about the verses.
How are they gonna? They don't know what surah it is. How are they gonna find if they must have to find it?
Oh, that's true. Well, try your best for the Arab speakers. MashaAllah, you guys have the Arabic language. Listen to the way the Qari goes up and down and cries and thinks
What if they
about
don't understand? What if the Arabs don't understand the Quran?
Actually, if they
You're
were
really
watching
messing
the
with us.
live,
We have 1 minute left now, inshallah.
You said 1 minute like 3 minutes ago.
30 seconds now. 30, I'm not the one making these numbers, it's the directors, okay? 30 seconds, guys.
You're fired after this, man. You're in
I thought I was going to be fired 2 days ago, but it never happened.
I guess they got no one else.
I guess, yeah. Eid Mubarak, everybody. Please enjoy the tilawah.
Jazakumullahu khairan.